CigarClub podcast all up in your ear. Talking all that good you wanna hear. Stogies, bourbons, and everything in between. Griff and Pugh are not experts by any means, so sit back and light one up. Make sure you got something good in your cup. Happy smoking, now enjoy the program. Thank you for being part of the CigarClub fam.
What's up, Cigar Club family? Welcome back to another episode of the Cigar Club podcast. I'm Pugh, and along with me, as always, is Griff Howie. Thank you all so much for listening and tuning in every week, as well as leaving your thoughts and feedback below on each episode. We love reading them. If you're kind enough, you may even make Griff's special segment. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much. The Cigar Club podcast is where we talk about all things cigars with the Cigar Club family every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern. On today's episode, we have a very special guest that you all know. We did a short interview with him last year while we were down in Mexico City for an amazing event, but we wanted to bring him back on for a popular episode. We've got a brand new release that he'll be able to talk about more. That will be in February boxes. But before we jump into it, Griff, what are we smoking? Are you drinking anything? How you doing?
Top of the afternoon to you, Pugh. I just lit this up, and I felt like I was back in the crazy city of Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
I was reminiscing about how many cigars we smoked that day, and also the crazy traffic. And I thought that I was going to die several times. Ramsey will put in the picture of Manolo, Pugh, and I smushed in this
jammed
Mini Cooper, basically.
Yeah.
It was a wild experience, but we were smoking the brand new Casa 1910 cigar coming from the DR that Manolo will talk about. But honest to God, I vaguely, I wasn't, when I say this, I wasn't drunk. I vaguely remember smoking this, but, along with 15 other cigars,
yeah, they
all kind of run together.
This was one of the first cigars that we smoked when we landed, if not the very first cigar. It didn't have the full band on it. It had kind of like a celebratory band for the weekend. But we were one of the first few people to smoke it. But we are smoking the Casa 1910 Soladera. We'll go into more details, but it's an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, Dominican Criollo 98. Fillers, it's got Mexican San Andreas in it, Dominican Habano Piloto, and Dominican Criollo 98. Made out of place that we all know and love, yep. La Isla with Ostos. I don't want to give too much away here, but certainly a special product or a special venture down there for Manolo and the team with Casa 1910 to work with Ostos. Let's bring in the man of the hour, the latest release from Casa 1910. We've got the master blender of Casa 1910, Manolo Santiago. Let's bring him in. Manolo, you are with us. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Hello. All good. I'm right now in Nicaragua working in something special for this year, for the last part of this year. It's very interesting work for a new special line. Well, not a special line, but a very special production for limited edition. But that's all can I say.
Stay tuned for more information on that one. We're excited to see what you're cooking up down there. We haven't, we saw you. I can't believe it was 4 months ago?
I don't remember.
It was November. It was November, correct?
In November.
Yeah, it's amazing how time just completely flies by. The holidays really make time seem go like that. Did you have a great New Year? How was 2022 for Casa 1910?
Well, it's very special for us at the end of the year for 2022 because we make the new Soladera edition and the art products is done. It's perfectly rested. It's perfectly for us. It's in all cigars in their boxes. And it's very excited for us because every time when we release a new product, when we release a new cigar, for me it's very interesting to see the faces for all cigar aficionados when they smoke the old cigars. And I need to hear, but it's more important for me, I need to see the faces when you smoke in our cigars. And every time when I make a new blend, when I work a new blend, I need to make better cigars,
Sure.
and it's very interesting for us. The 2022 for the all new release and the Cabra edition, the Soladera edition right now. Well, here we are. A lot of work, a lot of patience, a lot of exciting about these new cigars and the new ways for Casa 1910. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. It's great seeing the success. We met first at PCA last year, but I had known about Casa 1910 and smoked Casa 1910 prior to that. So it was really an honor to finally meet you there and continue that relationship that we had kind of started prior to that. If you would, so topic of the month for us, we were fortunate enough, thanks to you, to get these in our hands prior to their official launch at TPE at the end of February. So once again, or first off, thank you for allowing us to introduce this cigar to our customers and for us to be able to be a part of its release. Can you talk about first? There's so much story and culture behind this cigar. I'd like to start there. Was the kind of the history of the cigar the initial starting point, or was the blend the starting point that kind of gave way to the Soladera story?
right now, in my hand, I have the three new cigars for Soladera edition. This one with a little pigtail, a little appendix. This is a La Cornelia. It's a Majestuosos,
Beautiful cigar.
5.5 inch for 58 ring gauge. It's a very, very good cigar. It's a limited production, actually. This cigar, it's a limited production per year. The second one, it's a total 6 inch for 52. It's different about the Ave Oro or other total for us, 6 by 54. And the other total, the Tierra Blanca, it's 6 by 54. This total, it's a 6 inch for 52.
I
Because
like that.
in a several days, I talked about why Casa 1910 make different blends and different vitolas or different shapes. Is because when I make a blend, I need to make a blade with a perfect vitola, with a perfect shape, because every blend express a lot of differences about the aroma, about the flavor, about the evolution in the smoke. In every shape, but it's very important for me make a perfect blend for a perfect vitola. And the J1 right now, the host for this talk is San Petrina, all for Soldadera edition. Let me cut a light.
Join us.
Yeah, please. What
This
the hell are you waiting
this
for?
this cigar. It's the first time when I use this kind of wrapper in one of my blends, the Connecticut wrapper. It's very interesting. And about this Soldadera edition, for the first step, it's about the Casa 1910. It's all about the Mexican Revolution. But the Soldadera edition, which had been impossible without the effort and sacrifice for the soldaderas. Okay, the soldaderas is these brave female warriors, female soldiers, preserved and refused to be defeated. Despite their constant condemnation as a result of the ideologies for the time for 19s. This line is dedicated of these brave female soldiers who fought for justice and freedom, actually. Chose a delicate selection of the finest tobaccos from Mexico, from the San Andres Valley of Veracruz. I use the binders, the capotes, or Mexican tobaccos for the fillers in all our cigars for Soda de la edition. you know, guys, all our cigars make with Mexican tobaccos. The Revolutionary Edition, all Mexican tobaccos. The Caber Edition, Mexican tobaccos and Nicaragua tobaccos. Soladera Edition, the most important part is Mexican tobaccos and Dominican Republic tobaccos. Right now, I make these cigars in the La Isla factory with Ostos Quisada. Amazing factory, amazing Ostos, amazing Alvin, the manager of the factory.
We love Elvin.
I know.
Is that the pistol lighter?
No.
Nope.
This is a
yeah.
Bovino
Bovino.
lighter.
Yeah, I love those little guys.
It's very easy for me when I travel to put in my backpack this kind of plastic torch. It's very easy. For these tobaccos, it's a selection of fine Mexican tobaccos and the Dominican Republic tobaccos. And we created cigars that embodies the fighting spirit for the soldaderas. There we also, the woman could accompany the soldiers, the men soldiers for their caravans, dedicating themselves for cook's mode, served as nurses, and begging less hope for the soldiers who were wounded in battle. And if it's necessary, these soldaderas, they will the access to fallen guerrilleros and taking their weapons and fighting at the enemy. It is not the cookers, nurses, and companions. It's fighting soldiers. Without our new Soladera edition for Casa 1910, it's honored that immensely brave and powerful woman who took part in the Mexican Revolution with 3 cigars, with 3 different women, the San Petrina, La Coronela, and Teniente Ángela.
We have the San Petrina, I believe is the correct pronunciation. She, amazing story. We learned a little bit more about her story fighting the Mexican Revolution under Pancho Villa. Can you talk a little bit about her story? If my history serves, this is a time that women weren't fighting. They were, as you mentioned before, they were the cooks. They were the kind of helpers, so to speak, following the armies and assisting where they can. But for women to take arms was unprecedented at this time. Talk a little bit more about her story and the uniqueness that she had.
It's with pleasure. About the San Petrina, the real name for this woman is Petra Herrera. But it's called San Petrina. San Petrina, was a brave soldadera of the revolution. She actively participated in all struggles, distinguished her gender to join forces commanded by Pancho Villa, and she adopted the name of Pedro Herrera. She adopted the name for the men. She took part in about 40 different battles and were stood out and achieved of notable reputation for her exemplary leadership. Despite achieving numerous significant victories, Petra was never officially recognized, leading her to abandon Villa's forces and organize her all-female only brigade. That it said that she managed to get up maybe a dozen soldaderas, a dozen females warriors. It's amazing. This kind of leadership for Petra Herrera or Pedro Herrera, actually, but it's an amazing woman.
I mean, what an incredible there's moments throughout history where women have taken up arms. You think of the one that most people probably know about is the story of Mulan, which is based off a real life person, a real life story from, I believe, Chinese culture. If I've got that wrong, I apologize. You've got during World War II, there's Soviet women who took up arms and fought. And it's amazing to hear those stories, especially during times when women weren't really on the forefront of battles and them taking up arms and fighting for the cause. When you explained that story when we were down there, I was absolutely hooked, being a student of history, and was really excited to smoke this cigar, which was in honor of those women. Now, I know it, but for anyone maybe that doesn't know it, can you explain the name of Casa 1910 and what that represents?
Sure. Casa 1910. Here we are, the box.
Beautiful colors.
Yeah. The logotype, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, Casa 1910, it's took part for two different reasons. Casa, it's house, in Spanish, Casa, is the name for the old businesses in Mexico City and Mexico in the 19s, in the times of the Mexican Revolution and before, because the owners of this kind of businesses is take house lost the last name for the owner, like a tailor-made, high tailors, and other kind of business in Mexico City. In Mexico, it's taken like I'm Manolo Santiago. Santiago is my last name, and it's kind of Casa Santiago, or Casa Hernandez, Casa whatever. And Casa, it's for us the kind of the warm for Mexican people, for the guests, okay? And the 1910 is the year of the Mexican Revolution began. And for us right now, we need to make a revolution for Mexican tobacco history. They can take in a lot of inspiration for old houses, the tobacco houses, like the Renz family, Santa Clara, and other factories in the San Andres area, okay? And for us, Casa 1910 is a perfect couple for names, for expose or inspiration for Mexico, okay? And for us, it's all Mexico. The combination of colors is green, white, and orange. Or Mexican flag, it's green, white, and red. Why we don't use the red? Because in Mexico, it's totally prohibited use the official colors for national colors, like the steel, like the flag. We can't use the official symbols for the nation. Okay, and
interesting.
Didn't know that.
And it's important for us make a important part for Mexico. And it's because we use the combination of colors, green, white, and orange. The orange one for us representing the Revolutionary Edition, the green representing the Cavalry Edition, and the white, the Soladera Edition right now. And
I didn't connect that either.
Yeah, and the logotype, let me make a drawing for you guys for the logotype.
There it is.
Okay, it's a zoom. Or still in the Mexican flag, it's an eagle taking a snake over the cactus, the nopales for Mexico, no? And it's because we use the eagle claw.
I see it now. I've never noticed that before until you just started describing that.
Yeah, taking a snake over the cactuses, but it's a symbology for a human hand taking a cigar, and the rest of the snake body is the smoke for the cigar. It's like a eagle claw, but the nails a little bit blurred, but it's like a hand taking a cigar.
It's so funny. I've smoked this cigar or smoked Casa 1910 numerous times, and I've seen the cactus and I've seen the snake, but I never looked in the center to see the upraised claw. And then what you've got, What does it say around the band itself? What does that translate to?
Around the snake. Okay, this called 1910 is 1910 in Spanish,
1910.
and origin, Veracruz, Mexico. Okay, and if you see a little crown here around the seal, it's like a Mexican pesos coin, 10 pesos coin.
Cool.
Sure is.
Yeah,
know
It's so
that either.
funny, the little details that, and this is something that's always interesting to me, the little minute details that go into even further telling the story of the cigar. Never in a million years would I have known or been able to say that looks like a Mexican peso, but as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, it sure does. Really intricate.
it's like a symbology. And if you see the label for the left side, it's 19. And
Yeah,
the right side, it's 10. 1910. It's called
I was trying to figure out the significance of 10. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. If you see the 19, you can see Orgullo Nacional. It's like a national pride in
Okay.
Spanish. And if you see the trend is elaborado por artesanos, made for artisans.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
This is the
Incredible.
Look at
label.
the construction though on all of our cigars.
Yeah.
Which,
I just tapped my ash because I was going to end in my lap, but
yeah, me too.
no surprise there with not only Ostos, but you yourself blending this cigar. There's never been a concern about burn issues when I'm smoking a 1910, even if it's cigar number 15 of the night.
Great.
Manolo, when you were blending this, I know when we talked initially in TP, we discussed the whole tequila side of blending cigars, and we talked about it also in Mexico. Was there a particular tequila that you were drinking while you were blending this, or that you would recommend drinking when you smoke this?
For every cigar, for me, when I make a blend, I need to find the flavor profile, the correct shape, the vitola, and the correct suggested pairing. It's a suggested pairing because it's not unique pairing. It's a suggested pairing because the flavor profile is pairing perfect with San Petrin. For example, it's aged rum. I recommend for this cigar the flavor profile for Dominican Republic rums.
I'm drinking some rum myself right now. I don't necessarily have Dominican rum, specific Dominican rum, but this does have some
Damn, you do.
Dominican rum in it, and it is finished in Spanish sherry cask. So went with that per your suggestion. I know we talked about that on the side, so I didn't have anything just Dominican, but this Spanish sherry rum is wonderful.
No, it's great because the flavor profile of the for the Dominican Republic rums, it's too sweet. And the sherry cask, it's too sweet rums, too sweet spirits, but it's very okay. In the Casa 1910 experience, we make a pairing for San Petrina with Matusalem XO, then the new rum for Cuervo, made in Dominican Republic, and it's a lot of history for Matusalem. It's the beginning of Matusalem. It's in Cuba, but right now it's produced in Dominican Republic, and we have a lot of rums for Dominican Republic, like a Brugal and another kind of another branch. But I recommend counted rum brands. Like a tequila, I don't recommend all reposados tequilas, all extrañejos tequilas. No, because every factory, every brand, it's totally different.
Yeah.
The flavor profile is totally different. Like our cigars, it's totally different between them, and we need to find the perfect pairing, the perfect mariage for or companion for the cigar, the flavors and the aromas for the spirits and the flavor for the spirits and the complexity between cigars and spirits. You need to find three different topics: flavor, sensations, and aroma for a perfect cake.
Is that when you go to sit down to blend a new cigar or start on a new blend, are those factors that you are actively thinking about? I know every master blender is different, and I always like asking and picking their brains, as everyone has a different approach and a different starting point. Are you smoking the individual leaves and then putting it together, or are you conceptualizing, hey, I want to work with Ecuadorian Connecticut. I think it may work well with these tobaccos, so let's start with a full cigar and then dissect it and work from there? Or do you kind of start with the individual leaves and then work up?
Well, I'm start for example, for Soladera edition, Isla. I talk with Dostos and Elvin, and guys, I need a big table with all tobaccos for you have, okay? And I take and make a grado puro, a little cigar with one kind of leaf, and I taste different types of tobacco. When I'm looking an interesting flavor, I take a note and I separate this kind of tobacco. And for general, I'm start for the ligeros. I take a ligero, the most strong flavor, the most strong aromas, and I take different secos, the different visos, and we work in the bunches, in the cigar without the wrapper, and I make different selections, and I smoke with Dostos and Elvin, and we talk together, make decisions to make little changes between different blends, but we focus in one cigar per time, not different cigars. It's one cigar per time. When we look, we find that the good blend. We need to try different capotes, different binders. And when we talk when we look the perfect feel and the perfect capote, the perfect binder, we make a lot of exercise with different shapes. But if, for example, in Champetina, the filler and the binder is perfect, just that. But it's because I need to use a wrapper without a lot of flavor, without a lot of aromas, because I need the expression, the correct expression for the filler with the binder. I don't need a lot of complexity in the wrapper. I need the complexion for the filler. It's other story for the La Coronel or Tierra Blanca or another of our cigars. It's different story. But the San Petrino right now, I need the expression in the all smoke, in the all exercise for smoke, for the filler. It's because I use the Connecticut wrapper.
Yeah. So you didn't necessarily start off saying, I want to make a Connecticut, but you had a binder and filler that was full flavored, that you didn't want to necessarily be overshadowed by a more complex wrapper, such as maybe a dark Mexican San Andreas wrapper or a dark Habano, that would have maybe overshadowed that flavor profile that you had already established. Interesting, because I was just going to comment as we talked more about this cigar. This is not your typical Connecticut, which is something that Griff and I appreciate Griff maybe isn't as much of a Connecticut smoker as I am, but I gravitate towards Connecticut's that have more than just a tobacco flavor, right? Some Connecticut's can be really, really almost too mild and too mellow, that they don't bring any complexity. They don't bring any flavor transitions throughout the smoke. Yeah. And this is probably the third or fourth time that I've smoked this one. Lovely notes of toasted bread. There's a little like sweetness, sugary sweetness to it. There's a little spice to it. I couldn't tell you specifically, but I believe that maybe you describe it as nutmeg from when we were talking. But just an overall a medium-bodied Connecticut, which usually you don't see too often these days. So it's really appreciated to have something that brings the flavor while also being super approachable.
Yeah, and in of all cigars, I need to when you smoke, I need you find the Mexican flavors, the Mexican tobacco. When you smoke all cigars, I need to I need you for you say, oh, it's Mexican tobacco here. Okay. But I don't use a lot of Mexican wrappers or Mexican binders, actually. I use for the most part of our cigars in the filler, because for me, in Mexico, we have great tobaccos, not just for the wrapper and the binder. We have a good tobaccos for the filler. And I
Yeah, I
need
think
the
that's-
expression for the Mexican.
When I was first introduced to Casa 1910, that was one thing that I was really happy about, I guess, would be to say is normally when you associate Mexico, it's, Mexican San Andreas being used in the wrapper and binder, and rarely, if at all, you would certainly know, was there a cigar made in Mexico that featured Mexican tobacco and let Mexico shine for cigar making and not just really good tobacco. So that was immediate standout for me, and what gravitated me towards Casa 1910 originally was the uniqueness of it. And after getting to know you and getting to know the brand more, the pride that you take in the Mexican heritage and everything involving Mexico, and it just makes it easy to love a brand when the passion comes through from the top.
Yeah. For Cuchillo Parado or flagship cigar or filler cigar,
My
it's
favorite.
made filler and binder, all Negro San Andres, with for different short plants, tobacco leaves, but the wrapper, it's very interesting because when we present in PCA in 2021 in Las Vegas, the most part of the people, it's a Mexican puro. Yeah, it's a Mexican puro. Why don't you use the Mexican Negro San Andres wrapper, the Maduro? Because it's the most normal way to make a Mexican cigar. It's because I use the Indonesian, the Sumatra wrapper growing in Mexico, with this kind of tobacco leaves in the fillers, because I need to express the flavors for the filler for the Mexican and for the Negro San Andres. And the wrapper is just an elegant part for the cigar with herbs and tea leaves and very herbs for the kind of the expression for the wrapper. But if you're tasting the regular Sumatra for Indonesia, it's more herbs. But my Indonesian, because the soil for Mexico, it's a lot of minerals and take a lot of minerals in on the grapple. And it's very interesting behind the tongue, behind the palate, the sensation of the minerals, a little metallic sensation. It's very interesting in combination for the flavors and aroma and sensations for the Negro San Andres. When I talk with the people about the all Negro San Andres in the filler, just one kind of tobaccos for the filler, and I say, sorry, why not? Why not? We have in the tobacco plant 4 different spaces, 4 different floor plants. It's small, but in a nutshell, it's just 4 different: the volados, the visos, the secos, and the ligeros. And we have in these tobacco plants different flavor profiles and different floor plants.
Yeah.
And if you make a good balance between those, you have a combustion, you have flavors, aromas, and strength. And a lot of expression for Mexico is because I use all Negro San Andres. In the Tierra Blanca, the Toro, it's Mexican Negro San Andres wrapper and all Mexican Negro San Andres. But I play a lot with the process of fermentation and aging and the floor plans and textures and colors for the leaves. And the result is here. It's a different cigar with different aromas, with evolution and different flavors. But you can say it's Mexico. It's Mexico in the cigar. It reminds you Mexico.
And I think what was great for me was a change in my perception of Mexican tobaccos, because normally I associated Mexican tobacco with strength and being this heavy powerhouse of cigar.
Yeah.
And your approach to blending and your delicateness with how you construct and blend a cigar really changed my perception of what Mexico has to offer. Not everything has to be full-bodied, full strength, heavy oil content. You really have a way with how you work with tobacco to produce something that kind of breaks the mold, so to speak, of what I initially conceptualized Mexican tobacco to be. And that was part of my allure of being drawn into the Casa 1910 brand. And I think you've got another hit here with the Soladera line, and just how well you've got your grasp on Mexican tobacco, but also what other tobaccos has as well with this expression with Dominican binder, as well as an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper. One of my favorite releases. This is probably my second favorite release, behind the original.
I think I smoked 12 of those Cuchillos that night.
Oh, yeah. I think I had an Oro, a Terra Blanca, and then the Chuchilo was just the...
We had them all.
We had them all.
The particular one, I was like... chiefing them.
Yeah, and it's funny. You mentioned the minerality. Griff and I were doing a tequila tasting last week of different Blancos, and I can't remember the name of the tequila, but we were doing a blind taste of it, and it was so minerally and really different than the other four Blancos that we had. And I was like, well, it makes sense. The terroir really is expressed in that particular tequila. And it's going back to how you were talking about the pairing and being more specific in the actual pairing, because, just from the 5 tequilas that we had, I would think probably 3 or 4 of them that were completely different from anything else. And so, if you were just say Blanco tequila, that could mean anything, right? It could be maybe a agave forward or fruit forward, and that could be completely different than what your initial thoughts were. So I love that you have this specificity when you describe the pairings and have that approach to pairing a spirit with a cigar.
Yeah, it's a perfect example for the Mexican tobaccos, the tequilas. The tequilas is in the same territory, but it's different fields. One kind of material, like agave, azul tequilana Weber, for making a tequila. But if you taste the blancos, the silver tequilas, for me is a perfect expression for every brand, for every factory. Okay, when you taste one kind of tequila, is the same agave, is the same process. It's a fermentation. It's a cooked agaves, the fermentation and the aging. But in the silver or the blancos tequila, the white tequilas, it's all sold for every factory. Okay, it's totally different between factory and other factory. It's the same examples for the Mexican brands of the Mexican cigars. It's maybe in the same field, in the same territory for San Andres Valley of the state of Veracruz, but it's different expression. Maybe it's because I use total, it's like a single state cigar, because I use totally for the Cuchillo Parado. I use tobacco list for the same field.
But I had no idea.
It's the same field. It's the same process for all tobaccos, but different aging process and different fermentation process between, because it's a different strength, different textures. We need to work more with the one kind of leaf, and we work less in other kind of leaf. But the expression is different. For example, on the Tierra Blanca, in the grapple, I use two fermentations for the grapper to take this kind of colors. It's not cooked grapper, it's not stony, it's not, we don't put in sun the grapper. I use two fermentation for this kind of grapper. It's because the color and the flavors, a lot of oils in the grapper. But in the filler, I use the second leaves and the ligeros leaves for the dry season, growing in the dry season on the San Andres Valley, and the viso I use on the binder. I use the regular rainy season, growing in tobaccos.
Wow.
Why? Why? Because when you growing tobacco in the dry season, it's more expensive, but it's very interesting because the tobacco plant needs a lot of stress because they don't have the water. It's because needs to take a lot of minerals for the soils and a lot of water. When we take it, we can change the water and capture the oils in every leaf. And it's very interesting flavor, more dry, but it's a lot of flavor, a lot of aromas, and a lot of creamy sensations. The regular season, it's no stress tobacco, it's more relaxed, and the flavors and strength, it's more less. It's because I blended with this kind of seasoned tobacco. It's very interesting.
So, I mean, it makes sense as you describe it, but Griff, did you know about harvesting tobacco at different times of the season? I mean, that's another level. I mean, your involvement from literally the ground up is, and maybe other master blenders are that involved, but you're not just taking already prepared, already fermented leaves for the most part. You're involved in every step of the process from when it's harvested, how it's fermented, all the way to the final cigar. I mean, that's admirable, and
Thank you.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
Yeah, we need to put the boats in my shoes in the soil.
Yeah, you gotta get there and get your hands dirty.
Why you're in Nicaragua right now.
Sorry?
Hence why you're in Nicaragua right now, planning something for later this year.
Yeah, right now I'm in Condega actually, and I work with great master blenders here in Condega. It's a big surprise for you guys. If you like it, our cigars, we make a very great cigars. It depends on the Soladera edition, but it's a for cigar for the Soladera edition in the limited edition. But it's very interesting collaboration about the blending, about the tobaccos, and about the art in the box. It's a very interesting project for Casa 1910.
That's wonderful. I know you. Go ahead, Griff.
No, I was going to say, can't wait.
Yeah, and is that going to be something? Are you thinking this year or beginning of next year? I know it takes a little while for a project to come together.
Well, we present in this year this project.
Wonderful. Cool. That's going to be awesome. So I know you've got TP just around the corner. It actually may be going on right now when this podcast drops. We know you're going to be unveiling the Soladera edition. Are you going to be at PCA this year? Or is there any potential maybe things that may be coming out at PCA that you may not be able to discuss? You can just nod and wink, and that could be the sign. But what does Casa 1910 have in store for the rest of this year?
Well, for us, the first hit of for this year, for 2023, is CPE when we release the Soladera edition in TPE. Well, actually, we released the Soladera edition in the Casa 1910 experience with you guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
Official way, it's on TPE in the next week. But after TPE, we make a lot of events in the US. In the US, for PCA, we make the release for this collaboration. In the
Oh, wonderful.
PCA, we show you this project in this town. It's very interesting. Maybe it's going this new project maybe at the last part of the year
Wonderful.
on the warehouses in the US.
I can't wait to hear more information about that. So if your local brick and mortar does not carry Casa 1910, they need to, because you're going to be missing out if you don't have the Soladera edition in your hand, because it is, like I said, it's probably my second favorite release from you. It just really hits home for me, everything that I love in a cigar. I love an Ecuadorian or a Connecticut wrapper that's got more punch to it, as I said before. Before we do wrap up here, we want to thank you again from all of us here at Cigar Club family for inviting us to the Casa 1910 experience. It was our first time there, and just seeing, there it is, just seeing what went into that event. I know that was not easy for everyone that was involved in planning that, facilitating that, and organizing that. So thank you for that. We hope if there is one for 2023 that we'll be back. I imagine you probably started planning 2023 the moment that the first or 2022 ended, because that was no easy task. But where can everyone find you on social media? You've got a great presence. You're the person that takes the photos, does a wonderful job. You guys have really a great artistic expression in your photography. So where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, Casa 1910 you can find for all social media. Our principal channels, it's Instagram, Casa 1910 NX or Casa 1910 Cigars. In TikTok, it's the same. In the Facebook, it's the same. But we actualize the Instagram more constantly, you know. My personal channels, my personal social media channels, it's Manolo Cigar Live.
Wonderful. There it is, folks. Be sure to give them a follow so you can stay tuned for all the latest news from Casa 1910, as well as seeing not only that beautiful artwork, but what's coming out of TPE. Now, Manolo, we do a question of the show from one of our viewers that comment on one of our various social media. So I'm going to throw it out there. Feel free to answer. But the question of the day comes from Keaton Hoffman. Are there any cigars that you would recommend for aging further in your own humidor? Maybe a cigar that you think ages better than others. Now, I know you were previously working with Habanos and distributing Habano cigars. That's usually what I associate with cigars that age well. Let them rest after you get, if you were to get a 2022, maybe rest for a few years, or you can buy them pre-rested. But on the nose, is there anything from Casa 1910 that you feel like maybe in 3 or 4 years would age really well, buy them now and kind of smoke them throughout the box over the next several years? Or is there a particular cigar maybe outside of Casa 1910 that you think may age particularly well?
Okay. Well, it's an interesting question because in Habanos, in the Cuban cigars, it's very regular for aging cigars. But for our cigars, we pretend to, when you take a cigar for the box, it's ready to smoke, okay? Because we rest the cigar, every cigar, we rest the cigars for 6 to 8 months after we roll it in cedar wood, in the perfect situation with humidity and temperatures. But about the aging, it's like wines for me, because every cigar takes a different evolution for the time.
Sure.
But depends for the strength for every cigar. It's the time for you can aging the cigars. For example, the Cuchillo Parado, it's a medium to light cigar. It's a medium cigar. And if you take long time for aging the cigar, is lost a lot of strength, lost a lot of flavors. Not necessarily it's better. Okay, the best cigars for long aging, the cigar originally needs to take a lot of strength, medium to full or full grain cigar. It's better to long time for aging. My best recommendations for this kind of exercise of this kind of knowledge is you need to buy a box is better, of course,
Yep.
but minimum minimum
Yeah.
3 cigars, because one is in the same time when you buy the cigar, you need to smoke and take notes, the principal notes. Okay, the notes you can take the strength, the texture, the flavors, and aromas, the principal aromas. Okay, and the principal notes. You take a note, and 6 months before, take the second cigar and take the notes and see and compare the differences between the fresh cigar, the new cigar, and the 6 months before the after. And the third one, you need to taste the cigar when 1 year after you buy it. It's a
That'd be fun
perfect
to do.
situation. It's a perfect situation when you can make a lot of differences and you can compare between the fresh one, the middle, and the old one. It's
Yeah.
very interesting the evolution, and every cigar it's evolutive in different ways. Maybe it's perfect between the cuchillo parado. It's between the perfect time for smoke is between 3 years after we roll it to 5 years after we roll it. The cuchillo parado. It's a medium strength cigar. The Tierra Blanca, it's maybe 5 to 6 years, and the as the oro. This is a toro with Nicaraguan tobaccos and Mexican tobacco. It's more strength. It's medium to full. You can have it between 6 to 8 years. Okay, and the San Petrina, maybe it's between 3 to 5 years. The La Coronela supports maybe 8 to 10 years because the strength of the tobaccos and the binders. And the Teniente Angela, you can take between 6 to 8 years. I know referred after 8 years, it's wasted. It's garbage. No, but
Yeah.
it's lost a lot of flavors, a lot of aromas. It's maybe a lot of flat, and the draw maybe it's more hard to smoke because the tobacco's fruits very hard.
They lose some of
And
that oil content to them as they age longer. Yeah.
yeah, and if you take long aging, you need a great humidor, maybe with a kume or cedar wood, totally closed, and you need to open the humidor between every 2 months. Every 2 months to open to make air in the cigars. Put the cigars. If you have the kind of humidor with levels, the under part put in the under part for the over part and make a mix and I prefer for the long time aging make a separation between origins and the flavor.
Yeah.
If you take Mexican tobaccos for the tobaccos, it's not different humidors, just a little wood table between Mexican tobaccos, Nicaraguan tobaccos, Dominican Republic, and Cuban tobaccos for between then not touch it. Okay, the wrapper not touch it. It's better. Um, for the aging, I recommend Bovedas for long aging because the bovedas don't give you aromas, and don't give you these kind of bacteria for like a sponges on other kind of humidification systems, or maybe in the counter box on the counter humidor with the boxes. It's better. But
Yeah,
you need to take air for the cigars and the great humidification system, and not solar lights.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a point. Some cigars will start off, like you said, peak smoking time, and then maybe peak up a little bit, and then most cigars, I would maybe even say all cigars, have that eventual downturn. And you saying a box is probably the best way to do it, because I think of like buying a case of really good Bordeaux wine, right? You're going to sit on that for maybe 10 years, but you maybe eventually want to start pulling a bottle and giving it a try to see, okay, yep, this needs to go longer, or there's going to be a point where you're like, this tastes perfect for me. I don't want to necessarily risk it going downhill. Now's the time to drink it. Now's the time to smoke it. I do the rotation of the humidor not as often as I should, but usually once every 6 months. I'll take everything out, maybe do a little self-inventory and go, wow, David, I have a little too many cigars. I should smoke more often. And then I'll rotate, from the bottom to the top, just at least move them out, get them some fresh air, and, kind of change the position that they are in the humidor, just because I'm not smoking as many cigars as I could. And so there's a kind of a backlog, so to speak. And I want to make sure that they're all kind of in the correct environment. Perfect question and even better answer. So thank you for that. Yeah. But Griff, let's do it.
I just need one thing more about the humidity and the temperature for long time aging. I recommend maybe 65 to 68% of humidity, and the temperature between 16 to 18 Celsius.
And for all of us, that's 16 degrees Celsius is 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Do that quick Google conversion. You don't want to go too hot, or else you can potentially have mold and bugs and all this other unfun stuff. And if you do have a kind of an aging humidor, keep that separate from ones that maybe you're not going to age, just to potentially avoid any corruption of your long-term investment. You'd hate to have a new cigar be introduced in there that ruins the rest of them. Great advice. But Griff, let's do a giveaway. Let's give you a giveaway 5-pack of Soladera. And question is going to be in the comments below. Let us know. At this point, I think we've shipped a good chunk of the Casa 1910 lines. A couple more that are going to be coming later on this year. But let us know what is your favorite Casa 1910 cigar, whether ones that we shipped, or heck, even if you picked one up at your local brick and mortar or maybe an online retailer. Let us know what your favorite release has been. We're going to pick a random winner and send you a 5-pack of the latest release from Casa 1910, debuting at TPE 2023 at the end of February. We'll pick you as the winner and send you a 5-pack. But Manolo, thank you so much for joining us. This was truly an honor. We had a brief little interview, so to speak, back at Casa 1910 Experience in Mexico City, but it was great to have you on for a full-length podcast. You have a natural talent for, maybe it's not natural. You've put in a lot of hard work. Let me rephrase that. In your technique and blending, and ultimately your vision throughout the final project. And I can't wait to learn more about Mexican heritage through Casa 1910 and the stories that you have to tell coming up for the rest of the year and in the future years. So thank you again for joining us. Once again, this was Cigar Club Podcast with Manolo Santiago from Casa 1910 Cigars. Until next time, everyone, happy smoking.
Peace.